Hey, this is Dr. Linda Davis, and today I want to work through some HTML code on internal links. And that's where you have a web page that goes rather long and you want to basically hyperlink from within the page. So as you see in my example on the screen right now, I have a table of contents. I have chapters 1 through 7 listed here. They are hyperlinks, you can tell. And then when I click on, for instance, if I want to go see chapter 6, for instance, well, currently on the page I just see chapter 1 details, chapter 2 details, and chapter 3 details. And the other chapters are below this. So without having to scroll, I can set this up for my audience where they can just click on chapter 6 to go to chapter 6 section. So I'll just click on that and you can see chapter 6 now. I also have built in, kind of done the reverse of it and put in a back to top code that if I click on that hyperlink, it will take me back to the top of the page, which is very handy for your audience as well. So this is a very simple HTML coding because we just want to highlight how to build internal links. And so as you can see, it works for all of these, and if we even go to chapter 1, it kind of puts chapter 1 right at the top. So let's start working on these. I will show you the finished code so that you can see what you're getting into. Make sure you have enough time to in your session to pull this off. So in Notepad, and everybody has Notepad on their computer. So let me click up this previous one that I did, and this is the Notepad code that I did, the HTML code I did for that particular page. So once you code it in Notepad, you can save it as a .html file, and then the browser can read it. So this is the code. I will just let you kind of browse that to see if that's something you want to get into. I kept the code, pretty much as simple as I possibly can. And we'll create the basic code, then we'll go back in and add the new stuff basically. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Let me launch. I have a new one already kind of up and ready to go. And so what I'm going to do is just start off with your basic HTML tag, and then we're going to have, obviously the head tag goes in there, and we'll start with our title, which just puts the title at the very top, and we'll just call it internal links example, and close out that title tag. And I'm just going to space down so you can see it a little better. We're going to start with the body of the web page, and I'm going to type the basics and then come back, like I said, and add the special stuff that we want to work on today. This is going to be the just a table, of contents, so we'll put that in there. No particular size. If you want to make it bold, we can go back and put a bold tag on there, and then we'll end our bold tag. And moving through, I want a couple of breaks after this so we get some nice line spaces. And you will see me doing some copying and pasting of some of these codes just because it speeds things up quite a bit. Let me paste that one in there, and then because there'll be a lot more where that's coming from. Now I want to build in the chapter 1 through chapter 7 hyperlinks, but we're not going to hyperlink them just yet. Let's just go ahead and type it in, chapter 1 and then I better put a break in here because, and I got that on my clipboard I think, because if I don't put the break tag in here, it's going to just go horizontally all the way across the browser screen with chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and so on, and you don't want that. So come down and put the break in, and then go down one more, and then you can type chapter 2, and again we'll put the break in there, and chapter 3, put the break in, chapter 4, again the break, and chapter 5. And we have to make this, obviously long enough so that you can actually see the scroll happening. 6 and chapter 7. So that's kind of why we had to go all the way down to chapter 7. Okay, and I'm sure there'll be good to have a break there. Now, after that, and actually I want several more breaks than that. So let me put in few more. Do I want? Let's do 5. Okay, so just so it'll help lengthen our page as we go through. Now, that's going to be the 7 hyperlinks above. Now, we put a lot of breaks in here because we're going to start where it actually gets into the chapter details. So we'll have just in bold, I guess, we can have chapter 1, and we'll come back and add code, around that, so that it knows if we click on chapter 1 above as a hyperlink, it knows to jump down here to land where it's in the chapter 1 area. So that will come back and add some stuff to it, obviously. And then, we'll put a little break in there. And let's just put some details about chapter 1. Chapter 1 begins with the setting and the introduction of the main characters. Okay, just so we can have something in there for a descriptor. Now, if we'll continue on, and obviously you want some breaks after that, and actually after this one I want a lot of breaks, so and not like that either, and I want them hit enter every time so you get it down below. And I think I'm putting like 5 in between there, and then go down, and then we'll have chapter 2. We'll put that in bold as well. And we'll end that bold, and then we'll go down and have a little break there, and then we'll talk a little bit about chapter 2. So, and then we'll go down and obviously put our little 5 breaks there. And you can see the pattern developing here with chapter 1 and the descriptor, and then a bunch of breaks, and then chapter 2, descriptor, and a bunch of breaks. So that always calls in for an opportunity to copy and paste. So just to speed things up for you and me, we'll go down and I'll just take chapter 1 and copy that, and I'll go down here and paste it, and then change what I need to change. Obviously this is going to be chapter 3. Because I wanted you to see the pattern first before I started copying stuff. And if we had time, we could obviously change these little descriptors we started writing. But for sake of time, we'll just keep moving on. And then I'll go down and I'll paste that again. And this new chapter 1 is actually going to be chapter 4. And change the necessary items. And we'll go down here and Control V again, and this is going to be 5. And this is going to be 5. And put it in there again. This is going to be 6. And 6 there. Almost got enough stuff here. And let me go down and Control V again, and this will be 7. And that'll be 7. And that's enough, I believe. And then we'll, at the very end, we have to finish out our tags, but I also want to put a back to top, eventually a href in there. So back to top link. And we'll go just simply putting the words in there. And then we'll come back and it'll be a href eventually, kind of in reverse order though. Now, let's go back. Now, we've got the basics all in there. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't finish out my end of body and my end of HTML. Alright, so the browser knows we're done when it hits that point. Now, going back up, the new stuff, what's going to make the internal links happen. So, when we get back up underneath the table of contents, we we'll deal with that one last, because this is where we want back to top to come back up to, so I'll deal with that last. But let's just start with our basic chapter 1s and deal with these chapters 1 through 7 at the top of the page that we've got listed obviously here. And we're going to add the hrefs in there. We're going to add the hyperlink is what I'm saying. So we got to put a element in there on chapter 1. It's going to go like this. So we'll add our a element in front of chapter 1. And a element and then space, href equals and then quotation marks. Very important next is that hashtag. And we're going to name it a little different. We're just going to say chapter 1 and use the number, but don't forget the hashtag. And then we're going to close that out, and it's going to say chapter 1, like we had here, leave that, and then go down and you got to always finish out your a element. So let's finish that a element out. Okay, so that's one part of it. Now, once you click on this hyperlink, you've got to give the code somewhere to land, and obviously you want it to land down here where chapter 1 begins. So chapter 1 down here, we got to put a little code on there so it knows where the landing point is. So get in front of the bold in chapter 1 code here. That's lower down. And that one, another a element, but this one's a little different. It's going to be name equals quotation marks, and you're going to call it what you called it up here, chapter 1, capital C, and then end with the 1, the actual numerical one. So it's got to be exactly that, or it will not work for you. And that's how it all plays. There's no space. There is no space in there, and there is no space up there. It's got to be exactly what you have here, okay? Just how you did it. So make sure you do it like that. And that gives it a location point to land on, okay? So that's just pretty much how it works. Now, as with all a elements, you got to finish out the a element. So let's close the a element on that one. We can stop and save. And I always hold my breath when I go to launch the browser, and I think I have this one up. Let's see how this looks. That's the finished one. Let me go back and launch the right one here. This is the one we're working on right now. So let me launch the browser view of this, just as far as we've gotten, because we've only done one, and I can hit refresh if I'm not sure. But I do see that chapter 1 is now a hyperlink, and I'm hoping that when I click on this, that it will jump right down to chapter 1 here. So let's try it out and see. So if I click on that, boom, chapter 1 jumps right up to the top with the descriptor underneath, and that's what we want to have. So we pretty much just have to replicate that all the way down. Now I do notice here that I've got a little error. I see that chapter 1 is not bold like it is in the other one, so I probably need to check my code on that when I do go back. There's always little things to tweak and do. So let me go back to that particular notepad. Let's see, that chapter 1, I must be a bold thing that's not quite right here. Bold, turn the bold off, on, off. Okay, all right. And it might be that I need a little tag there. That might make the difference. So let's go back. It's minor, but we want you to do a good job on this. I think I used this one, didn't I? Okay, let's see if after I refresh if that gets any better. Yeah, that fixed it. I just didn't have an angle bracket in there. Now let's go back to Notepad and continue on. We're just going to repeat those steps over and over and over again, making sure we're in the right spot every time. So make sure at the top. And again, you're going to build an href for chapter 2 just like you did for chapter 1. And start off with our a element, href equals quotation marks, chapter 2, numerical 2 there, angle bracket, and then go past where you actually had chapter 2 already and finish off your a element, okay? Just like you did above. Now, don't forget the other part of this is to go down to the chapter 2 descriptions down here where it actually launches into chapter 2, which is right here. And I've got to, again, launch a new a element. And this one's name, okay? Look at the one above here. This is the one we're kind of copying. So name equals quotation mark chapter. This gives it its landing point. Okay, chapter 2, and I used a numerical 2 there. Just close that off, and then go to the opposite end of this one, and you got to finish out your a elements. So I hope you're starting to see the pattern of what we're trying to do here. and I'm just going to jump down and keep going, or actually jump up. I like to start do it the same way every time. Chapter 3, build again that href in there for chapter 3 and call it chapter 3, and jump to the other end and finish out our A element. Come down to where the chapter 3 section is down here, so it has a landing point, and we'll launch that A element. Name equals quotation marks chapter 3, just like I did above. Angle bracket to finish it off. Jump to the end and finish out your A element. Okay, stop and save and go back up. Let's do the href for chapter, are we on 4 now? Yeah, chapter 4. Oops, 4. And finish that out, and then we have chapter 4 we typed earlier, and we want to, yeah, finish out our A element slash A, okay, tag, there we go there. Alright, and go down here and take care of 4. Launch our A name equals, equals, quotation marks, chapter 4, into quotation marks, and that element, and then jump over to the end and finish out our A element. And stop and save, go back up. We got to do chapter 5 now. And always finish out your A elements. Now jump down to where chapter 5 is down here, and start your A element, and it will be name equals quotation marks chapter 5, all run together, capital C on chapter, and into quotation marks, and then have our bracket, and then jump over to the last part, finish out your A element, go up to 6, getting there. Chapter 6, and finish out your A element, of course, and then go down to chapter 6 down here and create the same A element there that you need for name equals chapter 6. Okay, alright, close that off, and then jump to the end and finish out your A element. Hopefully you've heard me say that enough times today that it's sticking in your head good. And go back up to 7, our last chapter. And we'll do an href. And sometimes, you know, the persistence of this and just doing it over and over again makes it stick in your brain a little better. It's called practice. And I always tell my students they got to practice if they're going to do well on these tests. And then obviously we have chapter 7 in there, and just finishing out the A element with that. I'm going to save that and then jump down to, and it can get monotonous, and but that's sometimes when you start making mistakes is when you start getting a little too relaxed about it. Alright, we'll put the name part in there. Oops. And quotations, name equals quotations, and then chapter 7 with the number symbol, and then we will cap that last angle bracket off, jump to the end of this one, and finish out our A element. Okay. Alright. So we'll see. We'll stop and save. Now, I have not done the back to top one yet, because that's kind of in reverse order. You know, you're at the top going down to something on the bottom of the page, but then once you get to the bottom of the page, you want your audience to be able to go back up to the top of the page. So that's why we have the back to top element in here. So with that one, it's just, you know, it's going to be your href, obviously. So start off with your href. equals, and this time, this is where the pound sign goes in, and you just can call it top, that's fine, and finish it out with your quotation marks, and then your angle bracket, and then back to top, and then finish out your A element. And now, you're not done. I mean, that's half of it, just like it was in the other ones. You've got to go find the top and put that name A element in there so it knows where to land at if you are sending it back to the top. So here we go. Let's scroll back up to the top, and I mean the top. Table of contents is the area we're going to send it back to, because that's the first text that shows up on the page. So let's go up, and in the that area, we are going to add on to this table of contents line. We're going to start off with, again, our A element, name equals, and we're going to have it equal top. And remember, that's what we named it from below. And obviously we have to finish out go to the end of it and finish out our A element, and I think that looks pretty good, but you never know until you run it. So let's run it and see how we did. So top to bottom, that's what we have. Hopefully you're able to kind of keep up with that and see the patterns. And let's go back to that particular one. Let's see, that was the one I think we were working on? Yeah. And then let me refresh, because right now it just shows the one link built. So all these others are popping up now as hyperlinks, which is good. That's what I want. And now we got to try out these different ones and see if it's working. So let's go to chapter 7. And when you get this message, it means, something's not coded just right. So, don't fret. Just go back and take a look at it and see what could have possibly gone wrong. So I think I went to 7, so it was missing something along the way. Either it be a little quotation mark or whatever the case may be. Let me look up here. Oh, I did that same little mistake again. Okay, I did it on all of them. I see it now. So if you look at chapter 1 on mine, and you look on, and I think this is a common mistake too for most people, if you look at the difference between this and this code, what should pop out to you is what's missing, is the hashtag. And once again, I forgot the hashtag. So let me just stick the hashtags in all these, because obviously none of them are going to work until the hashtag's there. That's a key component. Okay, so just stick those in before we go any further. And this is at the top of the page, of course. And stop and save. And now there should be no hashtags on these. These are all about the different chapter sections. So just know that. Okay. Now I think I stopped and saved already, but let's go back and refresh and see if that fixed our issue. Let me go back to that one, and I'll just go back to the page and refresh. Okay. Let me scroll up a bit. Wants to land there for some reason. Okay, so let's try them out. What did I hit last time? 7. So let's click on 7. Oh, okay, 7 takes us to that area. Good. Let's go back to top. Let's try that link out. And there it worked. And then chapter 3. Yep, there's chapter 3. And we'll have to go back to top on this one. Chapter 4. And 5, 6, 7. Back to top. Chapter 1 takes us right up there to chapter 1 and the descriptor. So yeah, now we're working good. So don't forget the hashtag part that goes into all of these, okay? So it knows where to land at. And let me just go through all of them so you can see that they all work. And there's the last one, chapter 6, okay? And then we'll go back to top. So that's an example of how to build internal links in HTML. And be mindful that any little symbol missing or something not typed exactly like it is in another part will make a difference on these. So I hope this helps you with your coding, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.